It's your boy Jacoby.
We just started the episode.
Oh, we did?
You just started it by saying, it's your boy Jacoby.
We're live?
We're live.
All right. I was referencing Scarred back in the day. I believe that's what it was called, right? Scarred?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Where it was like the first really popular show, at least to my knowledge, where it filmed people who like ate it, like skating or something like that. And it was like a really bad fall or whatever. And then they just replay it and kind of break it down.
I feel like I've definitely seen that, but maybe I don't know the name of it. I don't know.
Well, look it up.
Okay.
Look it up.
Moving into 2024 with SAS.
Right.
What's up, guys? This is going to be episode number 2 of the Bad Company podcast. I'm here with Levi Perez again. Unfortunately, I couldn't find someone to replace him, so we're going into 2024 with.
Because I'm
Levi
hard to
Perez
replace.
again. We're going to dive into this episode talking about our holidays, our weekend. I think the main focus for this episode is going to be routines in general, what we use them for. Do we like them? Do we not like them? And then maybe some training stuff on the backside. Why don't you kick us off, Levi? How was your holiday? Any highlights?
Holiday was good. I was in South Dakota for Christmas. My wife's from South Dakota. So spent it there. Got a good amount of snow. We had a good time. A lot of family time. We went snowboarding one of the days, which was fun. But yeah, a lot of eating and a lot of just sitting around, hanging out. She has a lot of children in her family, so. But it was good. Overall, it was good. Then we drove back and we went to Red Feather, Colorado for New Year's and spent it in our friend Jordan's family cabin. So that was great. It was different, you know.
Yeah, so you boat like shooting bows.
Yeah, I was shooting bows. Yeah, yeah.
Is that how you call it? Like,
yeah.
What do you say? Is it shooting bows?
That was to be honest, that was like the first time I've ever shot a bow. So I don't really know.
Was it fun?
It was fun. Yeah, I really like shooting bows. I also got a run up in. I got a run in up there, and the elevation is like 7,000 something. It's pretty high elevation up there.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Where is Red
It's
Feather
northern.
West?
It's northern Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you? What'd you do for the holiday festivities? You were in, not Nashville. I want to say Nashville, Memphis, Tennessee.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Nashville always comes first, apparently. Yeah. So my family's from Memphis, so I went back to Memphis. It was good. It was good to be home. It was kind of disastrous in a sense that like everyone got sick. Kind of messed up our family's Christmas plans, like what we had planned. And, you know, it was my dad's birthday. My dad was sick the whole time. No one had COVID except for my grandmother. So everyone had something. Half the people I assume had flu, but the other half didn't. Tested negative for it. And then my friends got sick.
Wait, you tested negative for the flu?
What?
You tested negative for the flu?
No, I never got sick. I was like the only one who didn't get sick.
Who tested negative?
You can test negative for the flu, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you get a flu.
Oh, you got a flu test?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. It's like, I think it's like flu, strep. Because if you test positive, I think they put you on like Tamiflu or like antibiotics. I could be wrong, but it kind of beat the crap out of everyone over the holiday. And then for New Year's, a lot of our friends got sick, and so those plans kind of went to crap as well. But kind of just, it was family time, hanging out and family time.
That's good. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it definitely made my mom happy because we were all home for like at least a week, and she loves my dog, so she got the dog time as well. But it was good. I got some training in. Ended up trying to come back from the Achilles problem, seeing how I felt. So I got just under 30.
Under 30 what?
Miles for the
week?
For
nice.
the week.
That's solid.
But I honestly, for the first time ever, I took lifting off completely the whole time I was gone.
Mm.
And I did just like mobility stuff the whole time. I just felt like I needed it, honestly. I had never done that, and I'm glad I did. But it's good to be back into the routine, which is what we're talking about today. So on the topic of routines, have you got any plans? Are you trying to develop or kind of in the what would you call it, in the process of working through some routines you've created for this year? I mean, what do you got going on?
I definitely have some routines that have probably been like my morning routine has been pretty solid for I'd say at least a year. Um,
Yeah, walk me through your morning routine. I know you posted about it, but like walk me through what your morning routine looks like.
yeah. So, and it's not always like I miss my morning routines pretty often. I'd say I'm pretty consistent with them 4 to 5 days a week. The days I'm working, I kind of it just depends. But if I got like a day off, which I only work 3 days a week, so most of the week I'm not working, so my morning routine's pretty solid. I would say so. I start by waking up pretty early, and first thing I do is get the coffee going. Um, so I'll get coffee going, and then I'll open up the Bible and I'll read at least a chapter of wherever I'm reading in the Bible. I'm trying to go through the whole thing. I started. It's been a long time, but I started in like 2000 at the end of 2022, I think. End of 2022. Yeah, I don't know. And I was like, because the Bible is like crazy, so many books, and I'm like, I've read certain bounced around in it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start reading from page one chronologically. So, anyways, that's part of my morning routine, and get the coffee going, get some reading in for probably at least 30 minutes, and then from there, what I like to do is, and this one's kind of new, but the mobility stuff. I got like I have like a 15-minute mobility routine, which feels great when I do it. So I'll read, I'll try to like get something out of what I read to like think on. And then when I go into my mobility or stretching, I'll try to dial in on something that sticks with me from what I read and just kind of like use that as like a form of like prayer, meditation while I do that. And then
That way you don't just like that way you don't read it and then it's just gone. You get some time to
which
think on
happens
it,
all the
and
time.
maybe it sits with you a little bit more.
Yeah, that's like my biggest pet peeve about myself is when I read something in the morning and then I come home from work in the evening or something and I'm like, what did I read this morning? And I
Yeah.
have no recollection. So, yeah, I do that. And then from there, I will either read some more after, like a book that I'm actually reading. Right now, I'm reading 80/20 running, which I've read before. Have you ever read that one?
Mm-mm. Can I borrow it after you?
For sure. There's a lot of really good stuff in it. But it's been years since I've read it originally. So I'm going through it again. And then that's just what I'm reading right now.
Is that it right? Does that say, is
That's
that
it.
by Matt Fitzgerald?
Uh huh.
I think I'm on his newsletter. I've been on his newsletter for like 2 years.
Oh, really? Yeah, you got to read this book
Wow, I
then.
didn't know that.
It's got a lot of great stuff in it. And then from there, I'll work out, or I'll go work out. I'll go run, one or the other.
How does that differ from the mornings where you and for those people that don't know, I would assume you have to go to work pretty early in the morning.
Right. So if I have work early, if it's a day that I work and I have to go to work in the morning, I will either cut it there. So like after the mobility routine, I will get ready for work and make breakfast and go to work, or I will skip everything that I just said and I'll just wake up and go run or wake up and go lift and then go to work. And then obviously there's days where I do none of it. And then
Do you feel like that like fucks up your day, or like do you feel like mentally?
for sure.
And I only say that because I feel like if I don't stick to my routine, or like it takes away from my day, but it definitely like knocks me down a peg, or I feel like I'm not getting as much done. And not that you need to get a ton done every day, but I just feel off.
Definitely. Yes. But usually if I do miss all of it, I make that decision before I go to bed. I don't make that decision the morning of. I'm like, oh, forget it, or I oversleep. I don't really do that. There'll be times where maybe I'm working back to back days or something, and I know that my sleep has just been terrible, and I need some extra sleep.
So that's usually the choice. Is like you want to get more hours.
Exactly. So it's not like of course I would still love to at least read for like 10 minutes or maybe stretch a little bit, but realistically it doesn't happen. But I will sleep in, and so at least I know, you know, I got an extra 40 minutes of sleep or something like that. Um, yeah, very unless there yeah, that decision is always made before I go to bed. Otherwise, if I did miss it, which I don't usually ever I can't really recall a time I've done, um, or I've, like, whiffed on everything for no reason, um, I would feel off at work for sure. I would probably do something after work,
Yeah.
which is hard. I work 12-hour shifts, so I know that that's why I'd rather, eat the bullet bite the bullet?
Bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet, and I'd rather bite the bullet and just get my run in at, like, 5:30 in the morning rather than 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night because that's the last thing I wanna do. So, that's a good, rundown of my morning, like, routine right now, which is perfect for me. How about you? Anything for the mornings?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's changed over the years, but I think one thing I have lacked is a bit until recently is a bit more like consistency in my morning routine. And I think since for the most part, I think like the bigger chunk of my clients is in the morning, and they start at 6 a.m. If I don't nail my morning routine, it just throws me for a whole loop because I have to have I got to eat before I'm there, and I got to eat a good bit because if I'm going to work out or do my run midday, it'd be pretty hard to do on an empty stomach. So, um, being up super early has changed my like what I want to do in the morning a lot. Um, and I think I try and get all my nutrition in, but the biggest key for me was um, I had read something that was like clean space, clean head, or something like that. Um, so like Monday through Friday, especially, I try and do everything to a T because if I come home for lunch or something like that and everything's a mess, I get really stressed out. So I try and be pretty like regimented in the morning with what I do so that each day is like the same. So I feel the same on each day. And I was thinking in my head when you were talking about reading the Bible when you wake up, I feel like that could calm you down a little bit or kind of like reset you for the day. And it's different, but I don't know why, but my version of that is a glass of cold, like fresh lemon water. I know it sounds weird, but like I expect it like every morning. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that because it just if I have that, I don't know why I take like a deep breath and
You
it
don't drink
just.
coffee first thing in the morning?
So I was gonna ask you about that. I read something or heard something. I don't know what the truth is to it because there's so much. There's great stuff out there, but there's also a ton of crap out there now. That I should probably research this because it's worth talking about with like clients. But the system that in your body that utilizes coffee isn't turned on until at least an hour after you are awake. And what causes you to crash, like, I don't know how to, this is, if you're listening, don't take my word for it, but go research it. But what I heard was basically like the receptors coffee uses. You crash because it's like turning on or turning off the ones that it shouldn't be using. So then afterwards you crash. But if you wait till like an hour after you wake up, it actually utilizes the ones that you would want it to utilize. And then it doesn't have a crash afterwards. So I probably should look into that. But I stopped drinking coffee right off the bat when I wake up and I switched it to lemon water instead. And then I'll have a coffee maybe like after my first or second session because I usually have like an hour, 2 hour break. And it's kind of a way for me to just take a deep breath, drink my coffee because I'm not
Yeah.
particularly someone who just drinks a ton of coffee throughout the day. And I enjoy having like just a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the one part of your day where you can like kick back and
Yeah.
enjoy my cup of coffee.
Yeah. I haven't looked deep into that myself, like, personally either, but there is something to what you said that I've heard, on, like, other fitness podcasts and things like that. But I don't know, dude. I look forward to coffee so much. Like, I look forward to it before I go to bed for my first thing in the morning. And so I'll make it in the morning, which, takes maybe 10 minutes or less. And, it's really special to me to enjoy a cup of coffee while I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. But
I mean,
anyways,
that's kind of the way I feel about the lemon water. I've done it so
yeah.
much that I kind of I expect it and I look
Yeah, yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
But I started doing lemon water because it has tons of like natural electrolytes, and so
Oh,
while you're running, it was just like a good way to like kickstart everything.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
a
know.
does it does the lemon water so it's hot water, yeah?
No,
No.
ice water.
Oh, see, but because also another thing is like if I'm going on a run, especially I want to poop before I go on my run.
That's different.
So
I'll
coffee
yeah
does its job.
yeah. I only have a French press, which can kind of be a pain in the ass to
Nice.
do it all
Or
the time. So I don't have like a coffee machine or anything.
French press is best.
So I'll either use a French press or I've been getting like, um, I don't drink it all the time, but it's just good to have for convenience. I have a jug of cold brew in my fridge. I'm 100% doing like a cup and a half before a run. You have to.
You got to get the demons out.
If you know, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's cool. And here's my thing too. I stopped drinking caffeine completely before noon.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't drink caffeine after noon. Otherwise, I'd be enjoying a cup of coffee with you right now.
Yeah, I don't have my rule of thumb is not after 5. But I'll have tea. I think I drink more tea than coffee. Like I didn't have any coffee today, which is why I'm having my cup right here. But I enjoy tea.
Me and T drink that sleepy tea before
Yeah, that's what I do. The
bed.
chamomile tea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chamomile, honey lavender.
yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Um, on the coffee note, I was talking to, I think it was Amanda the other day, and you know, like I feel like breakfast. We don't ever like. I personally don't. I rarely go out to eat breakfast. Like it's like the one thing. Obviously, because Monday through Friday you're working, and most likely you're not going to eat breakfast. But lunch is usually kind of along the lines of you have a time frame. So most people 9 to 5, you have a time frame where you can go eat lunch, come back to work, and then dinner. It can kind of be like, oh man, we've had a long day. We can finally sit down, have some dinner, and then go home. But breakfast to me, if you go out and eat breakfast, it's just you can chill. Like if it's a Sunday, you're going to eat breakfast, you probably don't have to rush it. You can have your cup of coffee. And that's when I like to I'll change my routine a little bit for like a breakfast because that allows you to just like chill out like on a Sunday or a weekend. Um but I think like you, mainly my Monday through Friday is pretty consistent across the board. What about like evenings for you?
Yeah. Well, really quick too to hit on your breakfast kind of thing. Um, that me and T were just talking about the other week, like, because we go to bed at a pretty early hour. We go to bed at like 9, I'd say on average, most nights.
About the same for me.
Most nights. Um, and so on the weekends, we don't really like to mess that up if we can help it. Like, because we still get tired at like 9 on the weekends. Probably weekends, I'd say more so we go to bed at like 10, but we're tired at 9 because we're used to going to bed then. And so when we go to like out to dinner, go on a date, grab a drink, something like that, it's always tough because we're like ready to go home and go to bed. But we were just talking the other day and we're like, we need to utilize breakfast for like our dates and like going out and
It's the
stuff like that.
dude, it's the
Like
best.
I would like that sounds amazing. We're like, yeah, what are we doing? Like Saturday morning, get up and like let's go get some breakfast somewhere. Yeah, drink some coffee. That's
Because you're if you go to breakfast, you're most likely not in a rush.
yeah,
You can
true.
talk, and for me, I eat the same thing for breakfast all the time. So I know usually if I go get breakfast somewhere, it's going to be something I would not otherwise have.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like way more fresh, like, cause it's first thing in the morning and maybe you slept in a little bit. And then I don't know. I just feel like the conversations and stuff like that and the energy levels are just like up there. And then it's like, hey, if you got the rest of the day to figure something else out afterward, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, evening wise, for the most part for me, let's see. I definitely do have a routine. Try to put it together in my head. But okay, sleepy tea is definitely something that we both drink about probably like an hour before bed. Other than that, um, I just make sure like there's not too many lights on as the night gets like as we get further into the night. Like sometimes tea will have like some random lights on and I'll turn it off. if it's like past 7. I just like like a couple lights on or something like that. And then other than that, really just brushing my teeth like everybody should do. And we have a humidifier with like the lavender, I think it is, like the lavender stuff. So I always get that. So like I always get that humidifier going, and I love listening to that when I'm going to sleep and stuff. But there's also like something to when I fill that thing up with water, I feel like my body, my brain is also like it knows like we're getting ready to go to bed.
I
And I
had
can kind of feel that.
I had someone tell me that. Like I was asking one of my clients, the dude loves tea. Like it's one of the things where I might not be able to drum up a lot of conversation with him, but it's one of the things we can both talk about. Like my dad really loves tea, so we started talking about tea. And I asked him about chamomile tea. I was like, "Do you drink chamomile tea or like nighttime tea?" And he was like, I've looked into that, and I don't know if it really does anything for you, but I think your body probably appreciates the routine of it. So it's like whether or not it does a lot for you, I'm not really sure, but it's like a signal.
Right, like, just the fact that you have some kind of routine. That's how that's literally how I feel when I'm filling up the humidifier. It's like when I'm filling it up in the sink, it's always like because it's always probably the very last thing I do before getting in bed and staying there. So, yeah, I feel like when I'm filling that up, my body, my brain kinda knows what's about to go down. And, yeah, and then also making sure that the temperature in our apartment is, like, on the colder side. If it's not, I'll wake up and it just messes my sleep up.
68.
68, baby.
That's my guy right there.
Yeah, 68. That's the sweet spot. Other than that, that's about it. Every now and then I'll stretch before I go to bed, but
I've added that in. I do about 30 minutes before I go to bed now.
dude, I used to stretch for like at least 30 minutes before I went to bed, like years ago. It was the year 2019 when I ran like 3 marathons that year.
I noticed a difference. I think I feel a little bit better.
Well, just yeah, it feels good. It feels like everything's like opening up. Yeah, you definitely feel better, probably a little less sore the next day. Yeah,
It's a pretty big time chunk though. You have
especially
to
as we get older.
Yeah, well, I've started putting time aside, but in general, it is a pretty big time chunk that you've got to set aside to do. Um, I think bottom line, probably when it comes to either morning or evening routine, is that for the most part, everyone's different. Like no one kind of wants to do the exact same routine as anyone else. Like stuff that works for you works great for you. Stuff that works for me works for me. But I think it's just important to have one.
Definitely. And also, it's one thing that I try to work on too is when I get knocked out of those routines, like for the holiday break, I try not I'm working on not letting that throw me off. Be
What do you mean throw you off?
like uh like if I accidentally sleep in, you don't want to be like in your head about it. Like I don't want to be like, "Oh crap, like I didn't get my morning routine done. Now I'm going to work and now I have all this stuff to do and I didn't get my reading in or my prayer or my stretching or whatever." And then like let that like dictate your day,
Well,
like your mindset.
I think that also like not okay. That's not a word. I think it also translates into how you speak. Like if you're upset about it,
Right. Which naturally I personally kind of do get upset about it.
right? But then people are going to notice that you're upset,
Yeah.
and it kind of just gives off bad vibes, and that's really hard to like get out of that
You can't let
groove.
that screw up your entire day.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, and I've also found that routines, once you really, at least for me, once you really get them going, like, and you're consistent with them, they're super easy to get back into after you've been, thrown off. Like when the holidays, like we were gone for almost a week in South Dakota, and and there's been plenty of other vacations and stuff like that too, right? And you just enjoy vacation, whatever. Maybe that means you do make the routine work somehow, or maybe you don't. But when we got back, it was like we didn't have too much time um to recover and like get things ready to go for the next day because it was the next day was Monday. We got work again and we're like right back at it. And I noticed like we went to bed early and the routines just got right back into the routine, honestly.
Yeah,
And it's like so easy.
yeah, yeah. I
It's like
totally
muscle memory.
I agree with that. I think you'll have to tell me what you think about this. I was listening to a podcast, it was a while ago, but it really clicked with me. At one point, did you ever just like bodybuild or like just lift? Right.
Yeah.
I kind of for I'd say like a year, I kind of let that take over my life, and it made me think about the difference between like a from a bodybuilder perspective to like a hybrid athlete perspective. Um, of like how structured when I was bodybuilding, I think it really not messed up some relationships, but definitely transferred into how I talk to people on a regular basis. Like, if I didn't have this to eat at this point in time, I was angry and I was like, it would ruin my day. Or if we were on a trip, I'd be like, oh, I can't do this because right now I need to be here doing this.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I kind of also like the hybrid perspective is you get a little more like leeway, but you still get your routines, but it's not super, super strict. And that was, I think, like another note I wanted to talk about in this podcast is like keeping your routines or being able to have a structured day without making life boring or like you don't want to lose your spontaneity. And I think maybe in the past I kind of I don't know, maybe I never did it before, so it took me going through that to realize like how much like if you're so structured, you try to be so structured all the time, it can kind of just take away all the like fun out of your life or and that's good for some people, but I don't know, you have to want that goal a lot or else all the spontaneity goes out of your life. And it's what how do you pronounce that word?
Spont Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Andrew thought it was pronounced spontaneity until I had to
Oh my
correct him
gosh.
before we got the podcast started,
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. That's
which
accurate.
is, I'm not
Levi is a grammarian.
I'm just trying to be a productive just I'm just trying to help him out before the podcast, but
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I had thought about that from kind of like a gym perspective of how, depending on what route you go in the gym, like bodybuilding, when it comes to food and training and all that stuff, can be so structured that it seemed like that was all I thought about. And my mom was like, "Oh, let's do this today." And I was like, "I can't because I have to eat this today at noon." And I didn't. I think looking back on that, I didn't really like it. So, um, I kind of want to touch on, how to keep your routines, etc., but also kind of have a fun life and not be overly structured. Kind of live along the 80-20 lines when it comes to a routine.
right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the thing about routines is, like, you can't keep them, right? Like, you can make them consistent in your life, but things are gonna happen all the time where you don't get to be in your routine, whether you see that coming or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think the whole point of having a routine, one, yes, I enjoy my routines because especially my morning ones because, like, it feeds me, right? When I'm in God's word, it feeds me. It gets me in the right perspective for the day. And I think that the whole point, other than like, yes, enjoying, you want these routines to like feed you in a way that prepares you for when things are more unpredictable. So if you're letting like not getting your routines in throw you off for the whole day, I feel like that's the exact opposite of what those routines should be there for.
Like what they provide for you.
Exactly. So like for example, I shouldn't like just disregard things that I've learned from reading the Bible and go out and live my life a totally different way and then be like, oh, it's because I didn't get my 20 minutes of reading in the Bible this morning. So like it should be that constant routine of me learning something or whatever it is you're into that sets you up outside of that, right?
Yeah. What is that phrase? It's like if you keep, what is it? If you keep, um, it's like the coffee mug expression where it's like if you keep pouring out your cup but not filling it back up, at some point it's just going to be empty.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah.
what the phrase is, but it's basically like it's like if you give yourself, or if like you just give out, give out, give out, but you don't, fill your cup back up, then you're just gonna have nothing left. And I kind of feel like routines help set that up. But at the same time, if you miss a routine, it shouldn't just be like empty cup all the time. Like your
No,
life is
no.
over.
No, you let the routines do what they're supposed to do, which is what you do outside of the routines.
Yeah.
So it's those routines ideally should be help setting you up for when you don't get to be into the routine.
Mhm.
Like most things I'm trying to learn and um whatever, train my body for, like it's for not for the routine itself, but it's for the unpredictable or, the goal, whatever that might be. So like
To be ready.
mobility for like a small example too. If I do mobility workouts every single day and then something happens one morning where I can't do that, and then I'm out the rest of the day and being active or something like that, does all my flexibility just go away? Am I gonna pull muscles or like, because I didn't do my mobility routine that day? No, but if you've been doing a mobility routine for, months or years, like your body is gonna be mobile and it's not gonna change just from missing one day,
Yeah.
you know?
Nice. Just pure silence after that one.
You know or you don't know?
No,
I don't know. Is what I'm saying, like, getting across?
yeah, it's like you're preparing for a situation. Like if a situation were to happen, you would be fine because you've done it. You've had your routines for an extended period of time.
Yeah, it's like routines are like practice to me. It's like going to practice, you know? And then I'm not a Christian when I'm reading only when I'm reading the Bible in the morning. I'm reading the Bible in the morning, so, like, I can learn and get my mind right for outside of the morning, when I'm in the workplace, when I'm,
Yeah.
with friends, when I'm, just doing my own thing with my wife, like, things like that. Like, I'm not gonna, because I didn't,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I get it. I get it. I was thinking um outside of that, there's two things I was thinking about, kind of like a flip side of the coin is if you have something going on, like say you have an event, I know we've both talked about training for stuff, right?
Mhm.
There comes a period where you really need to actually like drill down, like nail yourself to the floor, your routines, you need to stick to them. You need a plan to keep your routines
Yes.
so that you can be 100% on it, right? So there are those times, but there are also other times, say like we just went to Christmas, right? Or we went home, you went to Tees, I went to Memphis. You obviously can't be in the exact routine. You could, but you most likely can't be in the same routine in those situations that you could be here in your everyday like life. Like when you're in your own space, it's very easy for you to do your own routines because you don't have other people affecting your routines. You're not in a completely different space. So you could, but I think it's okay to allow yourself to like hold pieces of those routines. Like one thing when I went home, I tried to make sure that I ate healthy. And when I woke up in the morning, I was like, I can still drink my lemon water. There's things that I can do that kind of keep me in the groove, but I don't have to be like, I need to do step A, B, C, D, E, start my day. You know what I mean? So I think you have a side where you need to allow yourself to enjoy where you're at and the things that you're doing. If that means your routine suffers a little bit, because you can 80/20 it and just try and stay, I guess, from my perspective, try and stay healthy so that you kind of have that mental space of, I feel pretty good about where I am and you're not just throwing yourself into the ground. But then there are also times when if you're prepping for something important, whether it's a physical or like a mental task, like taking a test, whatever that may be, there are times where you're like, all right, I need to drill down. I need to, tie myself to this couch and study for X amount of time. So you need your routines to be spot on for this whole week. I don't need to miss a routine. I don't need to miss a morning routine, evening routine, etc. So I don't know. I think it's important that people understand that you can have both. It doesn't have to be the same thing all the time. You shouldn't be upset, but like I don't think a lot of people, when you go out of your routine, like they're okay with allowing themselves that space,
Right.
or you know what I mean. I feel
Oh,
like that's
yeah.
a hard thing for people to grasp, or they get angry. Um, I think around the holidays, you see a lot of like influencer people type posts saying like, give yourself space this holiday. It's like, how should I treat the holidays? Like, enjoy yourself. It's okay to enjoy yourself. Just figure out how you can do that, um, and also kind of not like get angry at yourself. Like, figure out how you can keep a little bit of your routine, but also enjoy yourself. And that's something like I had to work on. I tried to work on it for the first time this year without letting it like completely go. And I felt pretty good. Like I wasn't 100% routine, but I wasn't 100% just like letting it go. I
Mhm.
just kind of took pieces that I thought were like really important. I was like, I can apply these
Yep.
at home. Same as reading the Bible. You can do that anywhere.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was interesting for me. But I do think that, it needs to be like said more that it's like okay to be out of your routine.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, I think what you hit on too was, like, also the type of routines for, like, a specific goal,
Hmm.
right? So that's the other side of the coin you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, when you run Leadville this year, when you toe the line, you either ran the miles or you didn't
Yeah.
leading up to it, you know what I mean? So, like, in that sense,
You can see it.
yeah.
Like I can see yeah, so I think you wanted to ask me about this.
Yeah, I did wanna get into this anyway. Um, just about, like, Leadville. So I wanna hear about, like, one, what training is, like, gonna be looking like for you coming up? Because I think you said you start training tomorrow?
Yeah, I've got some cliff notes on it.
Woo! Okay, and then are you hyped?
Yeah,
I'm hyped for you.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Nervous?
Yeah. I
I
think it's
get
okay to be nervous.
Yeah, I get it. Um, anyways, yeah, no, so I wanna hear about, like, what that looks like, and also, you hit on, like, the hybrid thing, which is, like, the constant, like, obviously, you don't need to lift weights while you're gonna be in this training block, but I'm sure that's, like, a part of who you are, and you're gonna lift weights.
Yeah.
How are you gonna balance that out? How is the weather going to affect you, and how are you gonna deal with that? Um,
Yeah, so we can
Go
break it
ahead.
down a little bit because I feel like, I mean, you're not running Leadville, but you're still doing your thing, and it's a pretty similar path.
Sure.
Because when do you pick up your coach, or are you going to? Have you decided?
When I pick her up?
Yeah. So a coach is available to you.
Yes, yes,
When do you
yes.
start?
Oh, so my 16-week training block starts, like, at the end of this month.
Okay, so it's not that far away.
Correct.
When is the actual
May.
May? Okay. Yeah. So I've talked to my coach a little bit. If you're in Colorado and you're in the ultra space, apparently she's pretty well known. Her name's Junko. She's from Japan.
What's her name?
Junko, Junko.
Love that.
Um, but yeah, the first time I met her, I heard about her and I didn't know that she was a personal trainer in the same space that I personal train. And I saw this little card on the side of the wall, and then I saw someone training a small, I saw a woman training someone else, and I was like, oh, it's got to be Junko. So I went up to her after her training sessions, and um, I feel like you can find a trainer pretty easily for a marathon, wouldn't you say? Or there's like tons of like,
Yeah, I feel like nowadays it's, like, a lot more popular
there's
running
templates
coaches.
online of like how to get from
Oh,
A to
yeah.
B,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
And
In the 80/20 book, there's templates for you.
yeah,
Good ones.
and I figured that like there's so many people out there that can help you with that, and I was nervous about. I wasn't able to continue this year with my coach that I had last year, so I was looking for a new one, and I was a little nervous about finding a running coach who who could build upon like the scale of Leadville. Like I didn't want someone to say yes just because they needed the business. I wanted someone who had the experience and actually felt comfortable, guiding me to the scale that Leadville is. And I remember asking her, and I didn't know how to approach this. I was like, "Well, I would like to run Leadville this year," and she was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And I was like, I just I felt like I needed to ask. I was like, "Have you run Leadville before or something like that?" And she was like, "This year is my 10th." And I was like, "Oh,
Sheesh.
okay." That was like the most humbling thing ever. And she goes, "We'll get you set up. It'll be fine. I'll guide you." And then I felt comfortable from there. 10 times.
Yeah.
And apparently she went through cancer twice throughout that process.
Oh, she's a G.
She's a tank. And so I'm a little nervous, but I feel confident. As long as like I am very meticulous about how I take care of myself, because that was my downfall last year, was my like some issues I have. I've mapped out some rehab places of all sorts, to help keep me, where I am, but hopefully fix some of my problems along the way, because I still have them, but they're not flared up like they used to be. Um, so I have my like follow up conversation with her tomorrow, which is Monday, January 8th. And I remember the first text I got from her when she's setting up my account. And she was like, the first two questions she asked, she goes, double long run Saturday, Sunday. What day of the week do you want off? Just like one day. So I know I've got one day off a week, and my assumption, I assumed it. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know what that would be, um, which I think I'll find more out tomorrow. But I know I'll have double longs Saturday, Sunday, and then um, I'll be running 4 other days out of the week.
Nice. Those double long runs, dude. I've never done those before, but that's on like my training plan too for the relay.
Yeah. And so what I've heard is you'll get to a point where instead of it being like a joint issue or your legs are falling apart, they should just feel you're running on tired legs.
Mm,
And I'm hoping that's the case. I need to work really hard on myself of not making it an actual like joint, ligament, knees hurting, hips hurting, and just tired muscles, you know? Um, so that's what I'm planning on working on. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm gonna have to actually really drill down. And I think along the lines of what you were saying is if she schedules me a run, right? Even if it's 3 miles on a Tuesday, like I've got to run it. Her foot's going to be up my ass. Like I've got, and I'm paying her to do this. So there's so many things in place that, I've got Airbnbs for Leadville, non-refundable. It's a non-refundable thing.
nice.
So there's all of these little pieces that are all just saying like, there's no turning back, basically. So from a financial standpoint, but also people who know that I'm running it, um, and I like that. I like when that's like on your shoulders. It's the same as this podcast. If we tell someone,
Yeah, you're going all in.
yeah, it's all in.
That's the only way to do
There's
it.
no turning back, and I like that aspect of it. It keeps me where I need to be. It keeps my focus where it needs to be, and I don't know that I've had that 100% until right now. Like it'll be new for me. I can drill down, but I don't think I will have ever drilled down that much as I will like in this process.
Nice. So let me ask you this. We're in Colorado. It's winter. Double long run.
Yep.
We get a foot of snow.
Yak track.
I don't even know if a foot of snow is like a lot or kind of a lot or a little bit.
Yeah.
I never know what that means, like inches. How many inches we get? I don't even know how they measure that. I don't know what looks like what. But anyways, we get a foot of snow, 2 feet of snow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Well, I think we had talked about this as well. Last year, I ran roads only in the winter, and I think that was just me not knowing that.
Yeah, but even the roads, they can get all slippery and icy. I guess not. I mean, they plow and stuff here, but still, like
it wasn't.
I've
bad.
never trained in the winter. That's why I'm asking you
It-
this for like. I want to know what your mindset is going in because I'm also gonna have to figure stuff out.
It wasn't bad in the winter, like running on the roads, because I never really ran on the roads. I ran on the sidewalks, and usually it'll just be packed snow. And I feel like everyone has seen it, but you've seen that news commercial where that lady's on the.
So good,
It's so good.
It's actually better. Yeah. What did she say? She's like, I actually prefer to run
She's
on
like,
this.
it's low impact.
Yeah, it's good for you.
And then she just eats shit behind, like she just completely falls.
concussed.
Yeah, because I feel like cars pack it down so tight that it turns. It's like it gets super icy and slippery. I never ran on the roads. I always ran on sidewalks, and there would be kind of like fluffy snow on the sidewalk, and I would just try and run carefully.
Yeah.
But it takes a really long time. This year will be a little bit different. My assumption is that she'll want my long runs trails. And I'm kind of excited to do this, but we had talked about some of the best options for this, me and you. And for trails this year, I got a pair of Yak Tracks specific to running. Yak Tracks is like a brand of shoe attachment, like a sole attachment.
Yeah,
for
it's
your
like
shoe.
putting some spikes on the bottom of
Yeah.
your shoes, basically.
So there's like
so you can get traction in the snow.
Yeah, there's a ton of different options of like coils and deep spikes. These ones in particular, I think, are for running, and they have coils on the heel and like short spikes on the front. So I haven't had the chance to use those. I'm really excited to use those.
It's times like this where I think about when I used to live in California.
You wouldn't have to deal with it.
Never.
Yeah.
Like you could do all the races you want in the wintertime. It's just kind of cold in the morning.
I so you know, like the gratification you get from if you were going to go do a long run Saturday morning. There's everything that goes into that. Like no one's running right now. I'm running and everyone else is asleep. But also like you've just knocked out 20 miles. You get more gratification out of that when
Yeah.
it's the weather is shit. When it's snowing, the weather doesn't feel good, and you get out of your car and it's freezing. I only did that a few times last year, but when you're done, it's not fun. But when you're done with it, it feels so good, and I'm
It's gotta
excited.
you gotta build more grit from that kinda stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I feel pretty immune to it now. Like the weather doesn't bother me as much. I think the worst part of it is not like deciding to do it. It's the warm up when you're there. So like getting out of your car because you've got to put on all your gear, you got to put on your shoes, and it's just freezing. Um, but yeah, anyway, I'm excited to do that um, this winter and actually run some trails because I feel like the views will be amazing as well.
For sure. Can I tell you about my run in South Dakota?
Is this one where you plowed?
Yeah.
Yeah, go tell me about that.
Yeah, so T, my wife, is from a small town in South Dakota.
Hmm.
So, like I said, they got a ton of snow a couple of the days we were there, and it's the holidays as well. So, absolutely no plowing. They didn't plow for like days. So, the streets are just packed. You don't know what street, what sidewalk. It's just like thick, thick, like slush kind of all over the place. I can't just go out and go run around the neighborhood. She lives right next to a high school with a track,
Hmm.
and this was a couple days at, or no, maybe the next day after it snowed a ton. And I don't, like I said, I don't know how much snow is what, but there's a ton of snow. You can't even like see the track. It's okay. So it's a black track, black turf, white lines. Okay.
Like around a football field, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's around a football field, but the track itself, like the color of the turf is black
Uh-huh.
and the lines that separate the lanes are white. And I hadn't run in a few days and I was like, I really wanted to get a run in. And then so the night before, I just decided, all right, I'm gonna get a run in tomorrow. We have nothing on the schedule for that day. And I was just like, I'm gonna find a way to get a run in because I just feel like I really need to.
Yeah.
So I've never shoveled snow in my life until that week, right? And I borrowed her dad's shovel and I said, I'm gonna go shovel lane one on the track. So the inside lane of the
Hmm.
track. And that's all I'm gonna need. And this was like a sunny day. It was like cold, but sunny. And I'm like, trying to think of a track, 400 meters. I'm like, that's not that much, right? It's not. But then you start shoveling
That's a pretty pretty
and it's a lot
far.
of snow. And I had like my snowboard boots on and I just start shoveling. And I am like, at the beginning, I was like, um, disoriented because I can't tell because of all the snow. I can shovel out and see the track, but I can't see the lanes. What divides the lanes? So I don't know where I'm at, like in the turf, because
Hmm.
like I said, the lines are small and they're white. Snow's white as well, if you didn't know. So I can't freaking find like where I'm at in the track, what lane I'm in. So it took me a while to find that, and then finally found lane one, and I just started shoveling, and I was like, "This isn't that bad." And then I probably got 100 meters in, and I was like, "This sucks." Was like starting to get blisters on my hands and stuff, and I was almost halfway, and I was just like, "Is this even worth it?"
Dude, you can't go halfway and then stop.
I was halfway. I was like, "I'm already halfway," but it took me over an hour, and then so I was like, "Ah, I have to do it." Like we're already halfway, and it looked beautiful, like the one lane that was shoveled. So I shoveled the rest. Took me like 2 hours to shovel the whole thing, and then I ran on it for probably like an hour and a half. So I shoveled longer than I ran. I had blisters on my hands that are on my fingers that are like still healing. Um, and I was super sore the next day, like my shoulders and my back. I was probably
It was a
not.
good workout.
It was a great workout. But the gratification part, like I'm like honestly, like I'm proud of myself for doing that, and it feels good, and I feel like it gave me a confidence, honestly.
Mhm.
And, like, it sounds crazy, and, like, while I was doing it too, I was like, is this, like this is borderline, like, weird, you know? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I going this far to run for an hour, hour and a half? Like and then I was just like, this is just who I am. Forget like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm doing this, I'm getting my run in, and it's not gonna stop me. I'm not doing it for anybody other than, like, myself, and, like, it's what I wanted to do, and the gratification from myself doing that, like, I'm proud to, like, have these, like, blisters right now,
Mhm.
and, like, looking back on that, I'm like, "That's the hard work," and then when I toe a line for a race, or, like, when I run and qualify for Boston this year, like, I'm gonna look back to that, stuff like that, and be like, "That was the work," like, this is just gonna show for that, but, like, I loved that I did that, and, got a lot out of it.
Well, I also think that changes the perspective of how people see you. Like, basically what you're saying. Um, I think that's a really big deal to think that of yourself. But when you feel that of yourself, it spreads to other people. So now
Mm,
people like I see you as that. Like if Levi has to run, I know that Levi is going to run.
mm,
So there's no part of me that says Levi's just going to be like, no, I don't think I can do it today because of this. It's raining or whatever. And I think that spreads. Like when you start doing things like that, people start asking you questions. People start like they approach you in a different manner than they otherwise would. You know what I mean? And I
yeah,
think that's a big deal of kind of figuring out your identity, what you stand for, so that people know, you know? Like I think one of the like along those lines, because that's amazing. And if I was going to South Dakota, I would be like, if I need to run, I was like, and Levi needs to run, I know we'll run.
mm,
It's there's no question about it. Because I know Levi stands for that.
mm,
Um, and I kind of want that same thing. So I think maybe we had talked about this, but it's like if someone comes in town or something like that and you got to run and they kind of you're like, we're running today. It's not kind of up in the air. It's like, this is what we have to do. And we're going to run. Cause that's who I am. That's what I stand. Like I have to do this. I'm not changing it for,
we're getting it in.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think I like that you have that mentality, but I think it bleeds off to other people and they kind of understand that about you. And it doesn't become oh, that person's difficult or,
mm,
because I feel like I've had to deal with that a little bit in the past of like when people don't understand, they see you as difficult instead of being like, oh, that's incredible.
yeah, that's so that reminds me, because at my wedding, when we were in when we were in San Diego for my wedding, um, there was one of those nights where, like, I don't know what we did, but we all had, like, dinner and stuff like that, and then all the guys were going back to the hotel and gonna crack a couple beers or whatever and just go to sleep.
Uh huh.
But, you got your run in, and I remember you were, like, telling me, you're like, I'm really it was just like I think you only ran, like, a few miles.
You're only like 5 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 miles, but I remember you telling me, and you're like, because you were on the fence of, like, I don't know if I'm gonna run. Like, we just all ate out and stuff like that. It's getting, like, later into the night. But I remember you're like, "Dude, I think I'm gonna get my run in or whatever." And I was like, "Absolutely, dude. Go for it." But it gave, like, I didn't tell you this, but, like, it gave me I gained a little more respect for you, honestly, because the, like, pressure kinda thing was like, we're going back, we're gonna have a couple beers and, like, hang out. And you still came back and you hung out, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't miss out on anything at all. But I know that those, like, decisions are, like, when you don't wanna be, like, that guy or, like,
Yeah.
something like that, but, dude, I love that guy.
I got a lot of flack. I don't know if you knew about this, but the night of your wedding, like the night of your wedding,
Like, okay, so
like after your wedding.
after the wedding,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think this is kind of the identity thing of figuring out kind of who you are and what and just like what you stand for. I had to get up really early for my flight the next day. And dude, everyone was, and I only knew like you, Levi. I had met some of your friends, right? But I
Yeah.
didn't know a lot of
Shout out
people.
Levi Buck. He definitely is listening.
Big buck,
Yeah.
big buck. What's up, baby? Um, but like I definitely I got a lot of shit for this, but I generally it was kind of a turning point for me. And I know that's it's not maybe the best time for it, but Um, that night, I did not wanna go out. Like, 0 part of me wanted to go out. I was like, I would really like to sleep, and I know I can be a party killer, but I didn't really know everyone to the extent, and maybe it is a bit of a party killer, but I just decided I was like, I'm not going to go out. I just would really like to get some sleep, start my day off tomorrow really well. And I got so much shit for it. But when it was all over and kind of like everyone left, I kind of sat there and I was like, that felt pretty good. Like I
Oh
actually
yeah.
felt like I felt confident in my decision while it may not have been a popular one. And I generally think since then, I kind of just made up in my mind that it doesn't, I felt better doing that than I would have if I was just kind of just gave in, you know, because it just felt like I kind of chose what I thought was best for myself. And I think that's kind of an important, I think that's important for everyone to do.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, there's times where you should probably should go out and have a good time, but in that like instance, man, if you really don't want to, or you feel like you should do something and you think it's the best move for yourself, it's okay to be selfish if that's who you like. You know what I mean? If
Yeah, it's
that's
not
like,
like you were at my bachelor party, and like it's like something like that. Like I'm not there. Like the wedding's over, right? Me and T went back to the hotel to get to do things.
relax, relax.
But like, yeah, like you said, like you didn't like. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I that is hard to do, right? Because like the worst is like feeling like, oh, I feel like I should go out and like, so you should and you drink and you feel like crap the next day, especially with a flight. But like, dude, you don't want to go out and drink with, you know, people that aren't necessarily like your friends.
But also, it didn't feel like like my situation. It would not have affected anyone. Like your bachelor, you're saying your
For
bachelor
sure.
party.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
different. Like if I
That's
was
why I said,
there,
yeah, that's why I made that comparison.
yeah.
Exactly. Um, and yeah, especially I'm happy you did that too because is my wedding and obviously I love everybody. I want everybody to celebrate, have a great time, however that may be. I don't want it. That doesn't mean it has to be revolved around going out and drinking and things like that. And yeah, so I think that's cool too. Yeah, you're able to say like, I'm not going to. You were just at the entire wedding. We've been celebrating the whole entire weekend, and you got a flight to catch, and you want to get back to whatever business you have.
Well,
And back.
it just felt good to stick to my guns, and I
Yeah,
don't I felt like
I respect that.
I didn't used to do that at all. Even like with the
I
running
think a lot of
thing.
people. I think I mean, like, I'm sure. Yeah, I think people that I know in my circle would definitely respect that too.
Yeah, but I think that kind of closes out kind of what we wanted to cover for this episode. I know we got some good ideas moving forward, and we got a guest later this month. Um, so
Surprise guest.
yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging on with us. We're still tweaking some things. We had to deal with some video problems last time, and also some audio problems. We solved one of them. We're working on the video problems for next time, but we're tweaking. We're getting there. We appreciate you guys.
Andrew made me wear socks and not show my toes on the video.
Yeah, I felt so.
So go back and look
Just
at
so
my
you
crusty
guys,
toes.
just so you guys know, I felt like episode was one wasn't that bad, but it definitely was. It flowed okay, but it wasn't too robotic. But
This is for Erica. If Erica's watching,
but like if you go back and watch episode one, I had like the bottom of the couch in the video, and the whole time he just has his toes. If you're looking at the video, like my hand or his toes, and he's just like crossing over his toes and moving them around the whole time. And I didn't know how to tell him to please stop doing that while we were recording because I thought it would be awkward.
that's literally how you say it, Andrew.
I know,
You
but
say,
I thought it
"Sir,
would mess up the
your toes
flow.
are crusty and you're moving them around on the video."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then T told us that we had no personality in the first episode.
Yeah.
So we tried to kind of let it flow this episode. But anyway, we appreciate you guys. If you gave this a listen, you're still here. And we're gonna keep it moving. So we will see you at episode 3. See you later.
See ya. Goodbye.